Now moving on to Draco Occidentalis, or the Western Dragon. Yes, I'm just sort of showing off the fact I know a bit of Latin, so what? These dragons are the more stereotypical versions of dragons, a little bit like this guy, or like Smorg, or, actually, can we get a proper picture of that as well, please? Ah, yeah, good. This is quite handy, I have to say. The Western dragons aren't generally portrayed as good. They're generally seen as quite evil creatures, you know, like the story of St. George and the Dragon. St. George slew a dragon which was terrorizing a village and eating all its young and fresh maidens, although you'd think they would not have much of a ready supply of young and fresh maidens. Then there are various other dragons that are said to be in England. There's one in here about the Dragon of Kingston, who was choked to death by a giant boulder, the Dragon of Wantley in Lancashire, the Serpent of Handel from Yorkshire, where I hail, half dragon, half serpent, had fiery death and a venomous sting. Interesting. The Great Devourer of Maidens. That's something that seems to crop up a lot in British folklore involving dragons. They like to eat maidens. You think that they run out of maidens after a while. In case you're wondering what maiden is ye old term for virgin, pretty much. And ye should be the, because the Y sound was actually pronounced as the TH sound today. I'm getting too involved in the language here. A lot of dragons that are seen in British folklore aren't actually dragons at all. They're actually a creature called worms, which originated in Scandinavia. They're quite similar to dragons, but not quite. I've got some proper stuff here. Here we go. Worms are generally wingless. They have quite lengthy bodies, a little bit like the picture of Smorg I showed you earlier. But like I said, no wings. And rather than the fiery breath, they'll have poisonous breath, although they have a lot of things in common as well. They'll be scaly, haunt wells or pools, and have a deep attraction to maidens and princesses. Again with the maiden. How many virgins were there left in the world after the dragons and worms got through with this place? Of course, dragons appeared in Greece and Rome as well. For instance, there's Draco, which is the Latin for dragon, and Draco was a vast serpent with wings, which is all that look bad, and he's one of our constellations, and I believe he had something to do with Apollo. I forget exactly what it was. It was something to do with Apollo. And in the Greek myth, there were the golden apples of the Hesperides, which were said to give immortality, and great dragon. A great dragon was said to guard them. Also in Greece, there was a creature called a drakon, which is not quite like a dragon. Again, moving on to things other than dragons. I've got a picture of one here, actually. The stylized version here on the cover of one of the Percy Jackson books. That's a drakon. Had sort of the body and the head and the arms of a woman. Had wings, however, and a long serpent-like tail. And at the bit where the woman joined to the serpent, there were like evil faces of evil beasts, even evil inhuman beast creature thingies which could go evil dragon with excessive facial hair. Oddly enough, there was actually in Pliny the Elder's Historia Naturalis, he gave a detailed account of dragons which lived in the land of Ethiopia. He said they were 60 feet in length and lived primarily off the flesh of elephants. And he says that they twined themselves together to form a huge living raft and sailed across to the Arabian Peninsula, despite the fact they had wings and therefore could probably have flown there. I have to say, Pliny the Elder was not really well known for his historical accuracy. In fact, pretty much everything that he talks about in any of his books, and his Historia Naturalis, is complete and utter dragon droppings. As I recall, he died by walking into the ash and fumes of Vesuvius because he wanted to find out what it was like in there. Well, you know what they say, curiosity killed the Roman philosopher. Oh, and there's a legend about dragons possessing a stone called the Dracontius, which was lodged in their brain. It was a hard gem-like stone, and it was said to have magical properties and healing properties, so it could heal people. And as a result, many people went off looking for these dragons so they could possess this stone and heal stuff. For the same reason, people went after unicorns for their horns.